Welcome back, everyone. Today I'll be covering round 3 of Torneio Nacional de Honra, and this was a close tournament that I've been covering on my channel. This round I got paired up against Vasco Ferreira, which is a young kid which is actually been playing some amazing chess lately, and yeah, is very strong. Although in this tournament he was only 1561 rated. But okay, let's see how the game went. So my opponent goes e4, and I didn't really find any games of him online or on the database. So I had a game plan for this game that it was playing d6, very weird. d4, knight f6, and after knight c3, here I went for the Philidor endgame invitation here with this e5 directly, and my opponent accepted the challenge. He took on e5, I took back, and we traded queens. And he plays bishop c4, which is one of the main moves. I play king e8, and now he plays knight f3. And this is like, it might look weird for people that don't know this variation, but this is a endgame, not endgame. It's like a queenless middle game from the Philidor, and yeah, I like this endgame for sure for the black pieces. The white pieces are also doing amazing, of course, but even though I'm very underdeveloped compared to white, I only have a knight developed. White has 3 pieces, although I will develop the bishop to d6 now, so technically I have 2 pieces developed. He has 3, and he can still castle. I can't castle, but it's really hard to exploit this lead in development, and I have a simple plan of you know slowly improving my position with maybe c6, maybe a6, maybe h6, maybe rook g8, g5, knight h5, maybe bishop g4, maybe bishop e6, king e7, knight e7, or knight c6. It's actually I actually enjoy these positions a lot. My opponent played knight g5 here, and this is already a weird move, but I knew this move. And normally the idea after rook f8, defending the pawn on f7, normally the idea here for white is to play f4. And this might look weird because it hangs a pawn, but the idea here is to sacrifice another pawn with e5. And after you take, you are 2 pawns up, but after castles, white has an amazing position, honestly. This pawn is hanging, we can take it back. As white, the king is super naked here, and yeah, just black is in huge trouble, even though it's up 2 pawns. So yeah, after f4, actually here I should play knight c6 and ignore this pawn, and the game continues. You can actually maybe drop back to f3 in the future, maybe play knight b5 to attack this bishop. It's actually very complicated. I don't remember the details, but I was prepared for this. But my opponent decided to go bishop d2, which is definitely not the correct way to play this position. I just played h6, and now my opponent just goes back to f3. So he just wasted tempos with knight g5, knight f3, did nothing at all. h6 is actually a move that I want to make regardless, so he just helped me. And yeah, currently I already equalized after these few moves. So yeah, this endgame, if you don't really know what you're doing as white, and you kind of know what you're doing as black, you can equalize very quickly and then try to outplay your opponent. But yeah, here I played a6, my opponent long castled, played bishop g4 here. Yeah, computer doesn't like bishop g4, but I had an idea in mind. Computer prefers b5, which is also a very common idea in this type of positions. After bishop e3, you can play knight c6, you can play bishop e6, which I don't really like. Bishop b7 is not really a good move because this pawn is never gonna really be hanging. Let's say knight h4 here. If you take this pawn, you're in huge trouble after knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and rook h e1. Yeah, you're just in huge trouble because your king is in the middle, so you don't want to take this pawn. So bishop b7 is not really a good move in this type of positions, in my opinion. So yeah, I didn't go for b5, I went for bishop g4 with a clear idea that after my opponent plays h3, I would take the knight and then play knight h5. And yeah, my idea was to play, to just blockade the dark squares and to play knight versus bishop in the future. So I want to trade this bishop for this knight for this knight, and then play knight versus bishop in the endgame with the rooks. That was my idea. My opponent here plays rook g1, makes a lot of sense, targeting this pawn, which is weak. I play knight c6, my opponent goes knight e2, very good move, just stopping knight d4. I bring the last piece into the game with rook d8, makes sense. And here my opponent plays knight g3, which is a mistake. He should probably keep the tension. But yeah, it's hard to suggest a move for white. I don't know. You want to play c3 maybe? C3 allows bishop c5, so it's tough. Bishop d5 maybe looks good. Bishop c5 here. Yeah, it kind of takes some time to understand the position and to figure out the plan. But okay, my opponent decided to trade pieces here. Maybe he just wants to play with the bishop pair. And okay, I took, of course, and after rook takes on g3 here, I played g5. Yeah, you might say, why didn't your opponent take with the pawn? You're taking with the pawn wouldn't be as good because you just block your own rook, and even though you fix your pawn structure, your rook is just super misplaced here. So yeah, my opponent took with the rook correctly. I played g5 here, which it is the best move, but you have to be ready for h4. And here my idea was to just play f6 and lock things up. The computer says it's a big mistake. I should have taken on h4, but taking on h4 after rook g7 just, it felt very wrong to do this, to damage my pawn structure. And yeah, this pawn is hanging, this pawn is super weak. Yeah, I didn't like this for black. The computer says it's the best option, but I just decided to play f6, and I thought that I would be fine here. But I mean, my light squares are very weak, not gonna lie, so I have to be careful here. My opponent goes rook h1, I go b5, trying to kick this bishop and gain some space. My opponent goes bishop d3, and now I play knight d4 finally. Putting the knight on a great square here. Maybe in the future it goes knight e6, knight f4. We'll see. I definitely don't want to let him just trade this knight for like this bishop, or this knight for this bishop. Any of the bishops. I want to keep this knight. That's my thing. He takes on g5, I take back with the h pawn, and now he plays c3, knight e6. And my opponent goes bishop c2, which is actually a very good move in my opinion. Yeah, I was actually surprised because he was playing some really nice moves, not gonna lie. He's not only dodging this discovered attack, but he's also rerouting the bishop to this very nice diagonal, and there's not a good way for me to stop it. I mean, knight c5 stops bishop b3, but he can just play b4, and then I have to go back, and then he gets bishop b3. So yeah, knight c5 doesn't do much, honestly, just a waste of time. So I just played rook f7 to stop him from infiltrating on the 7th rank. But now he gets bishop b3 and the knight is pinned, so I play king e7. And yeah, here I started feeling worried because I thought that I wasn't doing too well here. The bishop pair is actually coming to life, and yeah, I might be in trouble because this bishop is doing absolutely nothing active. And yeah, this bishop is very, very strong. This bishop can also become strong, also, you know, helping the f4 push, which for now is stopped. But yeah, it's not an easy position, I feel like, for both sides. But yeah, after king e7, my opponent played rook h6, and makes sense. I played bishop c5, trying to activate this bishop. My opponent plays bishop e3 here, which, okay, Um, I think it makes sense. I took it because I didn't see a better move than taking the bishop. And yeah, after f takes on e3, we have an interesting position, and I got what I wanted. I got knight versus bishop. This is what I wanted. But it kind of has a grip on the f4 square, and it is tough for me to actually activate this rook. I can't move the knight because it's pinned. If I play rook g7, which was what I played, I was kind of worried of f4. Um, f4 can be tricky. Not right now. Now it doesn't work because I just take here. He takes, I take with the knight. But for example, after rook g7, my opponent played rook h5. Uh, I don't know. Maybe he could play immediately bishop takes on e6, and after king takes on e6, he had f4 actually. This is what I was worried about. But yeah, here I think I just have to take on f4 with e pawn, and after e takes on f4, I can't take back because the rook is hanging. I would have to play rook dg8, and it is a tough position to figure out what is going on actually. Yeah. Um I don't know. Taking like this, maybe you can also take with the rook, because I can take the rook with the pawn. Something like this. F takes on g5, rook takes on g5. I mean, yeah, probably this is equal, but I wasn't feeling the position too much after bishop takes on e6. But my opponent played rook h5, which I didn't really understand. I played c6 to stop him from going bishop d5. And after c6 here, my opponent took the knight, and he offered me a draw here. And after not that much time, I actually just accepted the draw. I took the bishop and I accepted the draw. I guess I didn't take the bishop because I accepted the draw, but yeah, this is the move that I would play. And yeah, I wasn't really sure who was better in this endgame. Again, f4 was looking scary to me, and although I have this file, it's not really easy to penetrate it. Maybe I can go rook d7 and double up, but he also has a lot of pressure along the g file, and this f4 push that he always has, it's tough. It's tough. I didn't really know how to evaluate this endgame, so rook endgame, so I just accepted the draw, and we got a draw. I mean, it's not a great result, it's not a bad result, but we moved to 2 draws and 1 win, and yeah, I need to start actually winning games, because if I want to win the tournament, I can't just make draws. I have to actually win games, so yeah. But for now, it's okay, but we need to start winning for sure. But okay, very interesting game, actually. I like this one. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a shorter video. But yeah, the next ones will be very, very long, trust me. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.